Hi everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. If you're new here, my name is Ashley, and in today's video, I'm gonna be sharing 3 dinner recipes with you that we had this past week. And today's video is extra special because it's in collaboration with Megan from Megan's Kitchen. So make sure that you check out her video as well. I will have a link in the description box below for you so you can see her channel. If you go over there and you're new to her channel, please let her know that I sent you. And let's go ahead and get into this week's recipes. The first recipe in today's video is for this chicken with potatoes, and this recipe actually comes from my yaya's or my grandmother's Greek church cookbook. She passed away last year, so I was really excited to try this recipe. And you're just going to start out by slicing your potatoes, and I'm showing you the thickness here. You want them about 1/4 of an inch. And I went ahead and sliced up 4 potatoes. The recipe does say that you can peel them. I didn't peel them because we don't mind having the skin on the potatoes, but if you prefer to remove that, you absolutely can do that. And then once those are sliced, I'm just going to set them aside while I prep the chicken. For the chicken, you want to place it into a roasting pan. I don't actually have a roasting pan because we always do Thanksgiving at my parents' house and roast the turkeys there. So I just put it in this large pan here, and what I'm doing is just squeezing the juice of 1 lemon over the top of it, and then I just went ahead and put those squeezed lemon halves into the cavity of the turkey because that's just going to add even more flavor to it as it's baking in the oven. And then after that, all you have to do for seasoning is some salt, pepper, and then some oregano. And that is it. There's no butter or oil, anything on this turkey, and you're going to see that it browns really nicely in the oven. So I'm really glad that I tried this because if you're trying to eat a little bit healthier, this is a great option because you're not putting any extra fat on it. It's just cooking and browning with its own fat that the chicken has. So once you have it seasoned, we're going to go ahead and place the potatoes in the pan around the chicken. And you want to do that and try to do it like in an even layer. And then we're going to add some water to cover. Now, since my pan was bigger than it should be, it called for like a 9x13 roasting pan. Oh, and quick note, you can see here I'm kind of using the potatoes to press the wings up against the chicken so I didn't have to tuck them. So just a little trick there. It worked really well. But since my pan was a little bit too big, I added a little bit too much water, but you'll see that in a second. So you want to add in the juice of another lemon. And then, like I said, the water, and then you want to season your potatoes really well with salt and pepper, and then I'm also going to add some oregano to that as well. So the recipe said to cover the potatoes with water, and then once this cooks, what you're going to do is bake the chicken in a preheated 400-degree oven for about an hour to an hour and 30 minutes, or until it's cooked to temperature. And then you're going to remove the chicken from the pan, and then you're going to put the potatoes back in the oven at 450 degrees until they get crispy. And you can see there's a lot of liquid in my pan, so I did drain some of that off in order to crisp them up. And then I just serve this alongside some carrots, which are going to be in this week's Thanksgiving side video. All of the side dishes in today's video are part of that. So if you're interested in these sides, just keep a lookout. They will be up on Wednesday. The second dinner that I made this week is for the smothered chicken. And to begin with, I'm just going to cook 4 slices of bacon. And I always say this in my videos, but if you're new here, I always love to use the tip of starting bacon in a cold pan. It just makes the biggest difference with getting the fat to render out and crisping the bacon without burning it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And then while the bacon is cooking, I'm going to go ahead and assemble the ingredients that we need to dredge the chicken with. So to a shallow pie plate, I just added some flour, and then to that the recipe calls for breadcrumbs. And so I did use some plain breadcrumbs, and then I also decided to add in some panko breadcrumbs to see how that would work out. But honestly, it was kind of for nothing because you're not dredging this with an egg wash, so they didn't stick very well. So I would just follow the recipe, just do the plain breadcrumbs, and then you want to season that with some salt and then also with some pepper. And then I'm just going to take a fork and just stir all of that together and set it aside so it is ready to go when I am ready to dredge the chicken. Now for the chicken, you want to have it thinly sliced. So I went ahead and just sliced 1 chicken breast in half. That's what this is here. So this does make 4 portions, but I was just making it for my husband and I. That's why I just have the 1. And then you want to make sure that it is dried off really well before you put it into the flour breadcrumb mixture. And then once you have it in there, you want to make sure that you're really pressing it around all of the edges to make sure that it is well coated. Once I was done with that, I went ahead and removed my bacon from the pan, and then I'm going to just set that onto a paper towel so it can drain. And you would be surprised how crispy that bacon was. It actually looked like it wasn't there, but it is because I cooked it properly and rendered out the fat. But now I'm just going to go ahead and save a little bit of this bacon grease. You don't want like the darker part on the bottom, which is why I'm just tilting my pan and taking like a spoon spatula to take some of that off, because I'm going to add it to some oil here in a minute to cook the chicken in. So I went ahead and wiped that pan out, and then here is the clear bacon fat. And like I said, I'm just going to add some vegetable oil. You can also do olive oil, any kind of oil that you like. That is good at like higher temperature, and you want to add enough so that it's going to go halfway up the piece of chicken. So you just want to bring that to temperature until it is hot. And I just tested out by like some of the extra flour mixture that I had for the dredge to see how it reacted. So that's just a little tip there. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my chicken breasts in, laying them away from me so that way I didn't splatter myself with any of the oil. And then this is going to cook for a few minutes on each side. Because the chicken breast is sliced thinly, it will cook easily in this pan and pretty quickly. So I think mine took like 4 to 5 minutes on each side, and then it was done. You just want to make sure that it's at an internal temperature of 165. So now onto the sauce, and you can do this in the same pan as the chicken. You just want to make sure you wipe it out. I did switch to a different pan just because honestly I was being a little bit lazy and didn't want to clean out the oil at that time. But you just want to add in some butter. I will have all of these recipes either linked or typed out in the description box for you below. So all of the measurements will be there. But you're just going to start out by melting some butter, and then to that I'm going to add in some flour and then whisk that around. And then you want to let this cook for a couple of minutes just so the flour can lose like the raw flour taste. And this is what's going to thicken up our sauce. So the recipe calls for chicken broth. I use the better than bouillon, so I'm adding just straight water right here. And then in just a moment, I'm going to add in the better than bouillon, the chicken. And then it also calls for beef better than bouillon or like a beef bouillon cube. So that's what's going in right now. And then I'm just going to give that a good whisk. I've mentioned that before. Anytime something calls for chicken broth and I'm using the better than bouillon and it's going to be heating up in a pan, I don't take the time to mix it together ahead of time. And then you're just going to add in a little bit of cream and then season it with some onion powder, garlic powder, dried thyme, and dried rosemary. The recipe also called for ground sage, which I didn't have, so I left that out. And then just a little bit of soy sauce or Worcestershire sauce, whichever you prefer. And then this is going to be ready to go. You just want to let it cook on the stove until it thickens up. This makes a beautiful like gravy, and then you top it with that crumbled bacon. It was absolutely amazing. And our side this evening was buffalo Hasselback potatoes. They were incredible. And the last recipe in today's video is for this incredible pot roast. This is probably mine and my husband's favorite that we've tried so far. So to start out with, in my crock pot, I'm just going to place my roast, and I'm going to do that with the fat side up. That way, when it's first starting to cook, that can kind of like drip down through the meat and make it even more tender and juicy. And then next I'm going to add in a packet of ranch seasoning. And no, this is not the Mississippi pot roast, but I'm kind of using a similar method to it. But for this recipe, you do 1 packet of the ranch seasoning, 1 packet of Italian dressing seasoning, and I did the zesty Italian. And then it calls for 1 packet of brown gravy mix. And at this point, I was afraid it was going to be too much, so I used about like a half to 2/3 of that packet, but you definitely can just add the whole thing. It would not have been too much. And then where I kind of stray from the recipe, instead of adding water to this, because I'm not going to add vegetables to it, I'm following the method of the Mississippi pot roast, adding a stick of butter, placing the lid on this, and then putting it on low heat, and this will cook for about 8 hours. And then when it is finished, this just falls apart. It is so good. It is so full of flavor. My husband kept raving about it, and he is not even a pot roast fan. So you definitely have to try this recipe. And then I just went ahead and served this over some mashed potatoes. and then alongside a homemade green bean casserole. So if you've never had homemade green bean casserole, check out this week's video. I'm telling you, it is incredible. Please make sure that you don't forget to check out Megan's channel. I cannot wait to see what she has made for dinner this week. She always has great recipes. I really hope that you enjoyed seeing these recipes today. We loved all of them, so make sure that you give them a try. If you do, let me know in the comments down below what you think, and if you haven't done so already, I would love for you to subscribe and join my YouTube family. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.